This is it, the final stretch in the case of the state versus Appollis and others. And today, day 34, Advocate Zelda Swanepoel, the state's lead, stepped into the spotlight to deliver her final message to the judge. But this isn't just a courtroom formality. This is where she ties everything together, the statements, the timeline, the contradictions, the truth, or something close to it. Let's break down what happened, what it means, and how the state just made its final play in the disappearance of 6-year-old Joshlin Smith. Before we dive in, I just wanted to send a personal thank you to new members of our channel. Thank you for subscribing. For us, a self-funded media publication, this means a lot. We're reaching the end of the Joshlin Smith trial, but we have more content planned, more cases to unpack, and true crime stories to dive into. So believe me when I tell you, subscribing to our channel and turning on those post notifications is absolutely necessary. Okay, back to the breakdown of day 34. Let's start with this. Zelda Swanepoel made it clear. This case is a first of its kind in South Africa. Why? Because the victim, Joshlin Smith, is still missing. There's no rescued child to testify, no undercover sting operation, no confession from a buyer, just a small girl who vanished and the people allegedly behind it. That makes the job of proving human trafficking way more complex. So Swanepoel had to explain this to the court, starting with the law. Under South African law, specifically the Prevention and Combating of Trafficking in Persons Act, there are normally 3 things you need to prove to get a conviction. 1. What was done, like recruiting or transporting the person. 2. How it was done, like using force, threats, or lies. And 3. Why it was done, usually for exploitation. But when the victim is a child, the middle part, how it was done, does not matter. The law says, if it's a child, you only need to prove what happened and why. So the state doesn't have to prove whether Joshlin was taken by force or tricked, just that she was taken and that it was done to exploit her. Now here's where it gets dark. The state believes Joshlin was sold like property. That's slavery by legal definition, reducing a person to something that can be owned or controlled. And according to one witness, Lourentia Lombaard, Kelly Smith said people, open quote, wanted her, that's Joshlin, for her eyes and skin, close quote. That suggests a motive that's horrifying. Body parts. And even though no one can confirm this because Joshlin is still missing, the law doesn't require the exploitation to be completed. All the state needs to show is that this was the plan. Enter Lourentia Lombaard. She's the Section 204 witness. That's legal code for someone who's involved in the crime but who testifies in exchange for possible immunity. Naturally, that makes her a risky witness. She has reasons to lie. She has a past, 16 years of drug abuse, caught up in the same toxic circle as the accused, so the state had to show why the court should believe her. Yes, she lied at first. Yes, she gave contradictory statements in March and October 2024, but the state argued that's expected. Most 204 witnesses distance themselves from the truth at first. It's only later, under pressure or in jail, that the real story comes out. In her case, she came clean after months of incarceration and rehabilitation. She's no longer using. She appeared in court as a different person. The judge himself even said, open quote, you don't evaluate evidence in compartments. You look at the big picture, the golden thread, close quote. The golden thread, that's the key. Does Laurentia's version, with all its flaws, still tie everything together? Swanepoel already predicted it. The defense would scream, open quote, liar, 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 close quote. But the state said, open quote, even if a witness lies about one thing, it doesn't mean everything they said is false, close quote. They referenced other legal cases like the State versus Francis, where it's accepted that even truthful witnesses can contradict themselves. Then Swanepoel brought out the big gun, a complete timeline. She laid out the story, not as fragments, but as a full sequence of events. August 2023. Kelly tells Nico Kutsia, who testified earlier in the main trial, that she wants to get rid of her kid. December 2023, Joshlin spends the holidays away with the Andrews family. 18th February 2024, police visit Kelly and Jacquen about a stock theft case. 19th February, Joshlin is last seen. Witnesses say she was handed over to someone in a white polo. 20th of February onwards, search begins, but Kelly and the accused, they didn't help. The state said that's because they knew it was pointless. Joshlin was already gone. Even when Kelly spoke to police later, she told multiple different stories. She's in Saldanha, she's in West Africa, she's with someone from Nigeria, she's gone because her school uniform was dirty, then suddenly she was sick. Too many stories, too many lies. The state believes Kelly's motives was a mix of resentment and financial desperation. She hated Joshlin's paternal family. She was frustrated that Natasha Andrews, who once fostered Joshlin, wanted to adopt her permanently. To Kelly, Joshlin was becoming a burden. That, the state says, made her capable of selling her own child. And the money? According to Lombard, the plan was 1,000 Rand for herself, 1,200 Rand for Steveno, the rest, nearly 18,000 Rand, for Kelly and Jacquen. So what was the state's angle? Simple. They wanted to show 1, a plan existed, and it started months before Joshlin disappeared. 2, that Kelly orchestrated it. 3, that Jacquen and Steveno were complicit. 4, that Lourentia, though flawed, was telling the truth. And 5, and that all of this happened with the intention of exploiting Joshlin. They want the judge to convict all 3 accused on both kidnapping and trafficking charges. Now let's talk about what followed. The defense. Advocate Fannie Harmse, representing accused 1, Jacquen Appollis, took to the floor after the state rested, and from the jump it was shaky. Disorganized, defensive, and at times incoherent, his argument didn't just fumble, it actively worked against his client. Harmse's main strategy was exactly what Advocate Swanepoel predicted: attack the credibility of Lourentia Lombard. He pointed to what he called material discrepancies in her version, especially around when she claimed to have overheard key conversations. First, she said it happened on Sunday, standing outside a window. Then she said the conversation took place on Monday. Harmse leaned into this contradiction hard, claiming that such a change severely undermined her reliability. He also tried to isolate parts of her story that, if taken alone, seemed to distance his client Jacquen from direct involvement. For example, he quoted her saying Jacquen was quote-unquote uninterested when Kelly discussed the plan. Harmse suggested that this shows Jacquen wasn't part of it, but he conveniently ignored the parts where Jacquen's own statement, admitted into evidence, placed him at the center of the handover. That statement, the same one he tried to withdraw during the trial within the trial, had him admitting to handing over Joshlin to a woman known as Makalima, allegedly under Kelly's instructions. Harmse claimed this was coerced under police pressure, but the medical evidence contradicted those torture allegations. Still, Harmse insisted that the 204 statement from Lourentia and the confession from Jacquen can both be true. His position was, these are 2 different stories and the state shouldn't be allowed to rely on both. He asked, if the state truly believed Jacquen's statement was freely given, why would they need a contradictory 204 statement from a co-accused? This is where things started falling apart. The judge quickly reminded Harmse that he had no case. The defense didn't bring any witnesses. They didn't present any alternative version. That means Harmse doesn't get to introduce new facts in his closing. His role is to argue what's already on record, not speculate. And it got worse. Harmse tried to cite the case State versus Tom, but fumbled the reference in his own written heads of argument. Then he bizarrely quoted case law from the 1930s, prompting the judge to pull up more current rulings and question what Harmse was trying to prove. It became clear that he was spiraling. He even got basic facts wrong. Harmse claims Jacquen mentioned the dirty school uniforms as a reason why Joshlin didn't go to school, supposedly in his early statements to police, but the judge corrected him. The exhibit showed that Jacquen originally said the children were sick, and the story about dirty uniforms only came days later on the 25th of February 2024. Harmse argued otherwise, despite the evidence being right there in the record. The judge eventually had to cut him off, reminding him again that no defense case was presented. So what was all of this for? And it ended there. Harmse sat down, shambolic. So tomorrow, Wednesday 30th of April 2025, Advocate Nobatlem Gabaye, representing accused 2, Steveno van Rhyn, and Advocate Steveno van Rhyn, representing Joshlin Smith, are expected to deliver their closing arguments. The judges made it clear he wants everything wrapped up by the end of the day. Then comes judgment, scheduled for Friday, the 2nd of May 2025. The stakes are massive. If the judge accepts the state's version, this will become one of South Africa's most definitive rulings on child trafficking without a recovered victim. This brings us to the end of our breakdown. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. I would love to hear from you. Comment below what you thought of the breakdown or anything that we've heard in the trial thus far. Also, don't forget to visit our news website, swisherpost.co.za, for the best explainers on every important event happening around you. No agenda, just the story.